Welcome everybody. I don't know if you could tell by that intro what we're here to talk about, but we are here to review Loki season 2, Better Late Than Never. Um
Yeah.
and here to do it with me is Ray. You can see his socials at the bottom, so go follow. Um
Ain't nobody on Mastodon.
they're still on Twitter slash X, formerly
Yeah,
known as.
formerly known as X
That's
or
such a
Twitter or
crazy
whatever.
for yeah, right? That's so ridiculous. Um, the last time you were here, we were doing Spider Man, right? So it's and
Yeah,
then the last time before that, nobody knows. I don't really remember. Do you remember?
I don't remember either. I don't remember
Okay,
either.
all right.
I don't remember. It's been so long.
Loki's right. It has, but I'm glad two for two now. So let's we'll take it as we can get it. Loki season 2. I I think it was a very good follow up to a pretty solid season 1. Um, I think this. My I'm not gonna say what I enjoyed most about it yet, or my thing that I was kind of nervous about, for the season for them to do, and they just kind of like handled it. They kind of handled it really well. But Loki season 2, I was very impressed. I think there was a big thing I think happened between Loki season 1 and season 2. I think the big thing was the thing with Jonathan Majors and Kang and all of that, and seeing how that was going to play out. Kang is going to be a major character for the MCU in this, for this part of the MCU moving forward, since Thanos. And so here we are with the issue with JM, and you know especially with the end of what was it, the Ant-Man movie. He was the stinger for that. That was the post
Yeah,
credit scene for the Ant-Man movie, was him. He was one of the better parts of the Ant-Man movie, for those who saw it. um and it's unfortunate how that's shaping up, and what it could prove for Marvel moving forward. Um I think if as soon as that happened, they should have started to restructure. But I think this show was already in the can before, after that happened. I think this was already ready to go. They just, probably trying to finish it. But it's gonna be interesting to see how they move things forward. And the other thing for me was Sylvie, how they were gonna handle that. For me, it was awkward. I don't know about other people. Like, it's still himself, so it's kind of weird. It's a version of himself. So for me, it was kind of weird, and I think they kind of handled that really well. But that's a good thing and a bad thing. I think it's a good thing because they kind of stayed away from that thing that it was setting up in season 1. It's a bad thing because they were doing that. For me, they kind of forgot about the character. So I was like, I didn't really. She kind of almost had nothing to do this season. That's my thing about Sylvie. But I'm gonna stop right now, and I'm gonna let Ray talk about his experience of Loki season 2, and all of the other things that kind of happened with it.
strong.
Mm,
I have the same sort of issues that I had with season one. It's like it's enjoyable, it's a good time, but like this could have been a 3 hour or 2 hour movie tops. So like if they decided, oh, we're not making like 6 episodes, we're just gonna make a made for Disney Plus movie or whatever.
right.
I would have been perfectly fine with that. There was so much fluff that like
Hmm.
could have been deleted. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there that sort of tries to get you to understand all these characters, and it is important. But I think they could still have done that in a short amount of time. And like that final episode ended strong, but like so much of it was just like, oh my god. It wasn't until like the last like 10, maybe 15 minutes or so that it was finally okay, fine. Yeah, we got there. Like so much of it was just a recap, basically, right? Like
Hmm.
I'm just gonna go back further in time, or I'm just gonna go back to this time. What? And it's like, okay, we get it. I get it. All you have to do is show me like a little 3-second clip instead of the whole, how he fails repeatedly. We got that he was failing repeatedly. You don't have to keep breaking it down
Yeah, I
to
think
us.
that was like
And the
10 minutes worth of show. It was a
Yeah,
lot of
I
time.
think I think the only part they probably should have kept would have been should have been like him having the chat with what's his face,
Owen
uh,
Wilson, Morbius.
yeah, and then him having a chat with Sylvie. That's all they needed to keep. Like they could have just like flashed through everything or whatever. But that is what it is. I think a lot of people have feelings one way or another about how things were handled. Like for example, Sylvie or whatever. I'm just kind of like the show's not about Sylvie.
It's You're right, but
The
it
show
is about Loki, and she
the,
is
the show is the show is called Loki.
right.
Like we have so many other like they've established that there's like quote unquote an infinite amount of variants or whatever. One of them is a freaking alligator for crying out loud. Like right. Like I think Sylvie's purpose was to galvanize him in the right direction. That's it. That's all she had to do this season. And that's perfectly fine because she got everything she wanted at the end of that first season, right? She
True.
got her freedom. And the only reason she came back when he was like, oh, everything's screwing up, she was like, nah, man, I'm not coming back. You're making that up. It wasn't until she realized, like, oh, things are actually screwing up that she was like, oh, maybe I should come back or whatever. But like, she had everything she wanted. There was nothing else for the character to do.
Okay,
There was
that's fair.
like a lot of people like, oh, they wrote themselves into a corner with the game. I'm like, no, the character got what she wanted. It's not an important. It's the character is important to Loki, yes, but it's not about
Important to the
the
show,
character.
right?
No, she's not. I mean, she is, but not to that level.
Hmm.
I I would say Owen Wilson's character is more
Way
important to the
more
show than
important to the
she
show.
is,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. I think the only thing I don't like is that like I feel like B-54 was just kind of there.
Oh
Like
yeah, like what was
like
she? Yeah, that's a character that was just there,
yeah,
right?
she was literally just there. It's like all the other characters, Ouroboros, what's his name, who ended up being a thief in his original life or whatever it
Oh yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah. The
Yeah,
the the
all
guy
the
who
yeah, yeah,
builds the thing. Yeah,
all these other characters have
they
like
did stuff. They were
they
useful.
yeah they were useful. They did stuff like oh they're all smart and they all know about the putting this whole thing together
I
about
mean,
time or
maybe
whatever.
what she was the backbone. She was the moral compass for the TVA. It's just she just
Maybe, but she
no.
I
I get
think
what you're saying. She was just there,
if
bro.
if if she didn't exist,
Show would have still went on.
yeah,
Show would have still
yeah,
went on.
and that's I think that's about my only problem with it. I don't think I think it's an okay show. I think when you say something's okay, people get mad because they're like, oh, you mean it's average?
You
And
have
I'm
to
like,
be
I'm like,
good or great. There's no
and I'm
middle for
like,
you, right?
I don't ascribe to that. Like, okay is a perfectly okay thing to be.
Hmm.
you
I
know,
mean,
if something like when you say something is average, like, like,
you're also a mathematician, okay?
yeah.
So like,
Well, this is true. When you say something is average, it doesn't mean it's bad. It's not bad. It just
right.
means it's middle of the road. There's nothing like people use like mediocre to mean things. I'm like, yeah, okay, mediocre. I can see being like sort of oh, it's nothing to write home about. But
Hmm.
like average means it's not bad at all. In fact, average means it was entertaining enough, just not something you'd
Watch again.
well, would I ever watch Loki again? I'd watch some episodes again.
Yeah, I don't think I think the way season two was structured, and maybe again because I don't know how it's gonna play into the greater MCU because the season one played into the greater MCU at the end of it,
Yeah,
right? It exposed you to one of the variants, right? He who
yeah.
remains. That's what it did. Season two tells you that the TVA is handling the variants. Like that's what it tells you. So it's not like in my mind, it's okay. Like if the TVA never shows up again in the greater MCU, I'm okay. Like I'm not like
What I
to.
got from the TVA was
I mean,
like
they will,
not
but
they it was something along the lines of we'll handle it if it becomes an issue or it doesn't look
Right.
like it's an issue.
Right,
Which
right.
that's what I
Especially
got.
because
You
at
know,
the end, Morbius is looking at the files and it's like, oh, what's
yeah. One of
and
them
I
did
think
something, but he got
E5
clapped.
was like, yeah, she's like, what's happening with the variants? Oh, we're handling them, and that it's
Yeah,
like, okay, so okay, and then Loki gets his ending. You know, I mean, for Tom Hiddleston, for me, I think why I think the show feels like maybe a little better than okay to me is because this is a character we've seen from the first Thor, the first Avenger to he's fleshed like this is the to in my eyes, right, the only MCU character that has really gone through massive development, right? He's had a chance to show himself throughout a lot of the MCU. I mean, yeah, you can
yeah,
look at Spider-Man and you can look at maybe Iron Man who had well, after the third Iron Man movie, was still going through kind of like development because he had to now deal with a young the Spider Man and be a dad figure to him. But Loki got like all of this development, and then season one gave him a little more development, and then he got to finally get his
Loki got development
purpose.
in the series too. Loki got development in the series too. This Loki is a variant. The original Loki died because of his development. Remember,
Right,
like
right.
and
Are
like
we talking about? Are we
like
talking about Ragnarok or the end of
yeah, yeah.
Ragnarok?
Well,
Yeah,
Ragnarok and then Infinity
Infinity
War,
War, right?
right?
Eh,
Like the point they get across by the end of Ragnarok is, in fact, I would say
Beginning of
even
Infinity
even
War.
even even Thor 2, as early as the second Thor. Which movie was one where Frigga died? Thor 2.
Thor. No, was it Thor? It was Thor 2.
Yeah,
Yeah, where
yeah,
the
yeah.
the stupid
Even
Malekith
even even
happened.
even Thor 2, like they done a lot to humanize him, like,
Loki,
when
yes.
his adopted mother died, like, like
And
he was
you
still he was
saw
still
he got
right,
emotional
like he
about
was
it. Yeah,
still he was still being like Loki or whatever, but like the second, like they went away, you could see, what he actually looked like, there
right.
was no glamour or whatever. Like they've been building his character like across the series, and like by Thor,
This is a variant. Thanks for the
yeah,
reminder. I think people do
but
forget.
yeah, by Thor Ragnarok, I think they established that like Loki just likes attention. At the
Facts.
bottom of it all, he's not really a shitty dude. I mean, he is, but like being a shitty dude is not like
He's
his
the
goal.
best guy around.
Yeah, like being a shitty dude is not his goal. He craves attention. He wants glorious purpose. He wants to be important. That's
Hmm.
that's that's what
Hmm.
it boils down to at the end of the day. And there is something to be said about like if you seek power, then you're not worthy of power or whatever.
Hmm.
But both versions of Loki, based on that Loki, both ended up at the same place, right?
Correct. Correct.
So like what we're getting out of this is, at the end of the day, this Loki, all and his variants specifically, are ultimately all right people,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
isn't bad. You know, um, I do so like I can't sort of like agree that like, oh, this one got growth and that one didn't get. They
No,
both
yeah,
definitely got
I'm
growth.
not
You know,
saying that. I think my initial point was Loki in general got
yeah,
growth. I think what you did is split it to say, hey, by the way,
yeah,
Loki 1 and Loki 2 got growth. Yeah, Loki in
yeah,
general, like all the way through the MCU, he's growing, right? First Thor, um, second Thor, when he dies,
yeah,
there was character growth there, right? Like, when Thor sees him in Ragnarok, he's like, but you're not dead. Like you can see Thor was happy, and eventually at the end of Ragnarok, they're like
yeah,
brothers, like they're officially brothers. So that when
yeah,
he dies, Thor feels it throughout all of Infinity War, right?
yeah,
And that shows something, right? That shows something there that like, damn, like at the bottom of it, Loki, Thor, sees who Loki is. Like maybe we don't get
yeah.
to see, but Thor, growing up with him, gets to see more of what. And then
It's
I think
it's
when
it's
you
it's. I'll put it this way: it's the same thing I have with my family. I have a younger brother, and like, well, I
younger
have three
brothers are
young. I
annoying.
have I have three younger brothers, and the youngest one can be a bit of a point of stress for me. But like, absolutely love him to
Right,
death.
right.
There's nothing he can do that will make me stop loving him.
Hmm.
I can get as mad at him about whatever he does or whatever, but like I still at the end of the day, he's my brother, love him to death. So like I imagine it's the same for Thor with Loki, right? Like I don't care what he's done. Like I mean, I do care what he's done, but like I'm not gonna stop loving it.
Right, right. And I think ultimately when we get to this variant version of Loki that slips out of time, which is why he created a branch, but the branch is clipped by the TVA because they get him out, right? When we get to this Loki, and I guess because we spend in the way it's set up, we spend more time with this Loki than we spent with
Yeah,
um our main Loki, because we only know him as
sacred timeline Loki.
right. Like, jeez, I gotta yeah, the Sigurd timeline Loki. So, um, I think it's this is more, we get a we get to see the growth a lot more with this Loki. So by the time we get
Yeah,
to his
it's
glorious
more personal, right?
prevalent, yeah, by the time we get to his glorious ending, you like
Yeah,
feel it, you understand
yeah,
why at the end of all of the time. And I think this is my problem with time shows, right? Timey-wimey bullshit, right? Because there does get to a point where they try to do that time thing you were complaining, where, oh, you got to go back and you got to figure it out and you got to go. I feel like almost every timey show does that, right? It's like
yep,
you got, like, and it's tropey, but it's a thing, right? It's like, you didn't get it right the first time, go back. You didn't get it, and then you get to see the frustration on the face of the character, and it's like,
yeah.
okay, fine, you could have avoided. You could have just did what they did centuries later. You could have done it after two times, right? Centuries later, he got it right.
What was that? What was that Tom Cruise movie?
Live, die,
It's based
repeat.
on a yeah, it's based off the manga. Yeah, I think that was it. I think it's Edge
It's
of
the
Tomorrow.
yeah,
Edge of
the
Tomorrow.
name is mad long. Edge of Tomorrow,
But
live, die,
like,
repeat.
yeah, Edge of Tomorrow, I think, did it very well.
Right.
Like they were like, okay, like here's him dying repeatedly, failing repeatedly, and then like
Hmm.
they got to the point where he's like they start talking, and she's like, you show up and I'll teach you everything I know. He's like, you already taught me everything you know.
Right.
You know,
Right.
like they didn't spend 30 minutes on that.
Right.
Does
And I
that make
think,
sense?
they try to make the cool thing of Loki walking in, knowing all the equations, typing on
Hmm.
everything. They try to do that. And it was cool to look at, but like after the third time, it was like, okay, I get it. And then when we finally get to when he figures out that he's the one who has to, fix all of what it is, and then you can't beat he who remains. Traditionally, you got to beat him some other way, and they did it twice in the same. That's crazy though. They did it twice because they did it with he who remains. That final fight from season one, they played it
Yeah.
out. I'm like, yo, how many times? Then they have the conversation. Then they play it out one more time, and then he goes back and is like, okay, I get it. And he goes all the way back, talks to Morbius. No, goes all the way back, does the thing where he tries to, you know, get Victor Timely to do what he does. um, Speaking of Victor Timely, and this is where I feel like it's really unfortunate because he's a pretty good actor,
Yeah,
Jonathan Majors. He's
yeah, I'll
pretty
give him
good.
that. Yeah, I'll
He's
give him
pretty
that.
good. Like what he did with Kang and Ant-Man, to kind of draw us in with the emotional part at first and then become Kang, right? And then become this variant, and then, be who remains, and then become this variant. It's hard for me to say, like, like Robert Downey Jr. kind of owns Iron Man a little bit, or Chris Hemsworth might own Thor. It's hard for me to give it to him yet because you can recast with also
Nope.
a equally talented actor. Go ahead.
Reminds me of what it reminds me of the lady who's playing She-Hulk. She had a show. What was it? Orphan Black,
Orphan
where
Black.
she played like 600 different
Yes,
characters, right?
versions of
Right,
herself. Yes.
right. And they if you watch it again, it doesn't hold up as well because you can tell like, oh, she's just acting or whatever. But like
Right.
all the versions of the character Jonathan Majors played were all like distinct,
Yes.
completely
Yes.
different characters each time. And I
Right.
do appreciate that. And so I think he is a decent actor. I think he's a good actor. it's a shame,
It's
like
right.
he might also be a POS.
A shitty person, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
because what he did with He Who Remains, right? There's a level of power and just braggadociousness for that character that's different
I
from
don't,
Kang.
I don't,
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that's Kang. What you're talking about, the power and the braggadociousness. I think He Who Remains
Mhm.
is he doesn't have humility. I'll give him that. But like I don't think he's like sort of like prideful or whatever about like I don't think he really brags about it. Just a matter of
He
it,
just knows
he
shit,
just I'm just letting you know this is how it is, matter of fact. And like
right?
you guys
Mm,
gonna do what you're gonna do. I've seen you guys do it a bunch of times
a bunch of
already.
times,
Just so
and
you
bruh,
know.
but we always
Like
come
if
back here
if
at the end of the day.
yeah, yeah, if you've been in his shoes and like you've been through that like say 800 times or whatever, that's
Hmm.
exactly how you sound. Like
True, true,
it's not you
true. You
trying to
just kind of get to the point where it's like, can we just get to it? I think
yeah,
that's what it is. It's like, ugh, okay, gonna stop her for you. Okay,
yeah,
now tell me what you're gonna tell me, and then
yeah.
let's do it again, and then you're gonna, all. I think that's what it is. It's just, but you're right. There's no humility in him. He's just,
No,
he,
there's no humility because
and
he's sort of omniscient almost.
right, right, and then and then to be that character in the same show, and then be Victor Timely with the stutter and the not sureness and the timidness and all of that. I think you're right. Every character he's played is distinct. When we got to Kang and Ant-Man, and I think the post credit scene, was it a mid credit scene, where we see the gods, right? It was Ra, I forget the three variants that he played. Which now again is the reason why I think this is the question I'm going to ask you. If you're the MCU, do you scrap the Kang Dynasty and just go all in with Fantastic Four, and
I think
then just because you can still bring Kang, right? Is supposedly, isn't he Reed Richards like super?
descendant, yeah,
Yeah. So
in the comics,
right. So
descendants,
you
yeah.
can definitely scrap it for now, right? Because of what's going on. Because you don't have it yet, right? Just scrap it and go all in on Fantastic Four. Since I mean, there's casting news already for it.
I think
Go all in
we
on Fantastic Four, and then Doctor Doom be your main bat, like Loki. Have Doctor Doom be the villain for Fantastic Four, and then be the villain for the next Avengers movie or whatever.
hope they can make Doctor Doom interesting because like
Bruh,
Doctor Doom to me is just like
he
oh
hasn't had
god.
it. He hasn't, and plus he hasn't had a
Like
good live
every,
action.
everyone loves to be like, oh, Doctor Doom, ah, he's so cool, blah blah blah. Like other comic book.
Wait,
I'm still like,
comic book Doctor
bro.
Doom or live action,
I'm
you
just
don't
like,
care for
I'm just
either?
like, bro. He's just like, he's just Batman, but science. Like I don't care.
Yeah, Rich. Isn't he disfigured?
Yeah, rich, disfigured, but like like he always has
Count
plans on
of
plans
Isn't
on
he like?
plans, and
Wouldn't you call him the
like
Count of? What's no, not the Count? The guy who
he
hides
has
in the
he has
bitter.
like infinite prep time.
Right. Oh man, prep time is insane.
Just
So
I don't
if
care. I don't
if you
care.
okay, so you don't care for Doctor Doom, then if you're Marvel MCU, what are you doing here?
I know what they've done. I can't speak for what they're planning on doing. I know what they've done is they've sort of they released some pressure from the valve because they've basically gone with that ending. They went okay. We've got all the Kang thingamajigs in this little bubble. The
Mhm.
TVA is like like they're not a problem.
Ah, right.
They're not a problem. There was one of them that might have been a problem, but he got clapped,
Ant-Man,
so there's
yeah,
nothing.
Ant-Man took care of him, right?
And it wasn't even yeah, we're gonna take care of them. It was more of a yeah, they can't do anything basically.
Right. Because
Is
we
how
know
it
who they
came
are. We know
right.
exactly.
Is is exactly how it came up. So like if they want to use Kang, they can. If they want to go a different direction, they can just completely ignore the whole Kang thing because they've put basically put it in stasis. If Jonathan Majors comes out and they're like, oh well, he's innocent, he didn't do any of this, so blah blah blah, like then they bring him back. But if he is like legally a piece of shit, like then they just be like, well, we're just not using him anymore. And and my position on that is like, if that does end up being the situation, I think they should still use Kang. Just recast them.
Recast,
Like
right? I mean, they
it's
have
the
recast
the, the
War Machine.
you know I'm
We all look
I'm
alike.
still
Like,
I'm still mad. I'm still mad they went. I mean, look, I like the actor they went with, but what they really should have done was when they replaced Terrence Howard, they should have replaced him with Cuba Gooding Jr.
just get
So you'd be
another
like,
light
well,
skin.
they look alike.
Right. They just went all the way left with it. And
Yeah, yeah. So my point here is like, what we've established is yes, a lot of variants look the same, but like we've all seen the first season of Loki. We have like old man, we have Sumi,
Old
we
Man
don't look
Loki.
anything.
Yeah, we
We have
have
a
Kid
we have a
Loki.
we have a crocodile one. None of them
Yeah.
look like
And if
Tom
it's a
Hiddleston.
variant, exactly.
So like you can still make variants of Kangs that don't look anything like Jonathan Majors. So if you want to keep Kang, you can. But I think the issue there would be like if they proceed with someone else and like the whole thing blows over and like it ends up like he goes to court, comes out the end of it, and he's like, well, I'm innocent, like you guys give my role to someone else, like that
And
could be
it becomes a
a
blowback,
pill
right?
Disney doesn't want to swallow, right? So like I don't envy the situation they're in. Like I don't feel sorry for a multi-million-dollar company, but like I can also sort of like I can understand like, oh, like we wouldn't want this smoke. like,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So like
So
they
as you
they've,
said,
they've
just put
written
him
it
in
in a way.
stasis. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like the ending with the purple lights on what's her name, Renslayer or whatever.
Hmm.
For all we know, it could be the alias from like the first season, or it could be another variant of Kang. They can leave
Right.
that open.
Right.
It's open. They can do whatever they want with that. So I think they wrote a solid ending based
Based
on real
on
life
right.
issues that
Right.
they're dealing with. Can't fault them for it.
Right.
Cannot fault them for it at all.
Right.
And like what I'm left with is wondering if Jonathan Majors hadn't been identified as a POS, like what ending
What
would we have
ending would
gotten?
we have gotten? Right. Right. What who
Like
would Victor Timely be? Like, did they have to restructure all of that? He Who
right,
Remains was all that. Was the ending restructured
yep,
in
yep.
itself?
But like what we see is Victor Timely never becomes like
Yeah,
a
he
thing.
never becomes
He
Victor
goes, he
Timely,
goes
right?
back to making his candles. Never gets the book right.
And so that's you brought her up, Renslayer. She was a character in this, and she did stuff. I want to ask how you felt about where her character went and what they did with with that and Miss Minutes and all that stuff. Oh,
That's
I knew it. I knew it.
these are the reasons I think it's just the reason why I'm
Okay,
like, oh, the
right.
show's okay, because like they have all these like things that could have been interesting, but like
Hmm.
they're not, like the whole Miss Minutes wanting to be a romance thing. What a waste of my time. What a waste of my time. What a waste of narrative. You could have used that narrative somewhere else. Like
Hmm.
Renslayer, I feel, was actively wasted this season.
Right.
I think they could have run her parallel to Loki. Like they could have run her parallel to Loki. Like the remember the soldier lady who's
Hmm.
all like she was doing what she believed was the right thing or
Correct.
whatever it was.
Correct.
I think that should have been Renslayer's character. Like
Hmm.
completely disagreeing with everything Loki's doing, but and absolutely believing that she's doing everything because it's the right thing to do. That would have been a fantastic dichotomy to deal with through the whole series of like, okay, so who's actually right, right?
Hmm.
Like that
Hmm.
would because they try to play it that way for a bit, like oh she's been here already, she was here first, whatever, and like they'd run that all the way through to like almost the end, and then they had to work together or figure out what the hell is going on, and then we pick one side. That would have been great, but that's not the story we got. I feel like Renslayer was absolutely wasted. She went from oh, I think I'm in love with Victor Timely to, oh, Victor Timely is not in love with me and he doesn't want to share whatever it is. So I'm just mad now. So I want to take it all for myself. I'm still like, ugh, Oh my god, this is boring. You are
Yeah, I
such a
think
token. You are such a token
yeah,
villain.
they lost me. I agree with you. They lost me when Miss Minutes played that past footage, and it was like erase everything. Um, I think up to that point, I feel like there was something there, right? They were building something, and then it just became, as you said, token. Like it just became the yeah,
It was one of those I kept sitting down and
and then
going,
I didn't enjoy
"What
her
are
ending.
you?" No, I just kept sitting down and going, "What are you going to do? Like, if you get all this, we haven't heard anything about what your plans are.
Mm-mm,
We just know you want power. We
that's
haven't
it.
heard anything about like what you want to do with that power, what you want to change, how you want to fix the TVA. None of that. Like,
Exactly. Or did
you
you?
know,
I felt like what she was she just trying to bring it back to what it was, be the the one, the sacred timeline, protect that. Was
what?
she trying to do what the
Like
timekeepers were doing?
she wanted to replace He Who Remains, but she didn't
And
have
do she didn't? Yeah, she didn't have anything
any goals beyond
right.
that. Like,
It
want to replace
just
He Who Remains because, and the
you don't.
because was
I
Black.
wish I wish it was I don't believe in him anymore. I don't believe in what he set up, and I want to do something different. I want to. You could have given us. I would have enjoyed a villain speech from her. I don't enjoy villain speeches, by the way, but I would have enjoyed a villain speech from her.
They could also have played like a whole like crisis of faith character for her or whatever. She
Hmm.
believed in this thing for so long, and now like she doesn't believe in it anymore. Like maybe she's more attuned to what Sylvie is all about now because He Who Remains clearly has to be stopped or whatever. Like that would have been a better storyline in my opinion. But like no, it there's the bones of a good story here, and like all the parts involving Loki are absolutely solid. But like I think they dropped the ball with a lot of the other tertiary characters, which
Hmm.
is a shame.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Speaking of dropping the ball, what did you think of OB? I thought it was fun. I thought it
I
was
thought
fun
yeah,
the first
it's
two episodes. Then I thought his stick personally I thought his stick became annoying past episode two. But I thought it was fun.
I thought
His
he was a perfectly fine character, but like you
introduction.
said, I the problem the show had, and one of the problems the show had was now that they were trying to deal with too many characters
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
what was originally a sort of like a small cast in the
Yeah,
first series.
what was it like
There's
a two-person show,
yeah yeah
buddy cop type thing, right?
yeah yeah. What was that guy's name? Was it Frank? The was it Frank?
I think it was Frank.
The guy who was a thief.
Oh no, the thief. Oh, hold on. Let me look up these characters, man. Let me look up these characters cast. Uh, mm, I feel like I should have done this,
Casey. Casey.
prior,
His name was
prior.
Casey.
Yeah, Casey.
Yeah, I think OB was a wasted character in that Casey could have been the one doing everything OB did.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
I think they could have merged both of those characters into Casey basically, and
Yes,
that would have been
definitely,
perfectly fine. That would have been
definitely.
perfectly fine. You know, and again, I don't think
Oh, and
OB
it's
is
B15, not B5. B5 is
oh
like a vitamin or
B15.
something.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I didn't mind the character. I liked the character. Like in fact, what felt really great about the character was like he had a way of explaining things that like the audience would find funny and like the
Right.
person he was explaining it to would understand. You know that stupid thing they always do, like blah, blah, blah. Some guy says like, a whole bunch of like gibberish, and they're like
Sciencey
in
stuff, right?
English,
Right, right.
like in English, but like they thankfully didn't really lean into that trope too hard. Like, but he was sort of there to explain what they were
Hmm.
doing, but not much
But
else. You
Casey
know?
was right there with him. Casey knew all the things, which is why
Yeah,
I agree with you. Like
yeah. I
that is
think
a
they could have.
merge.
I think they could
You know,
have
they
merged
split the
both
character into
characters.
two, right? They split the character
Yeah,
into two because it's like, oh, one. Because I think they split the character into two because when you get to what the final episode and you get to meet Casey's
yeah.
time alternate timeline Casey, and he's a thief, right?
I kept thinking the whole time, like they should have made that just one Casey or two Caseys. Just give the other one a different name. Same
Hmm.
person, different
Hmm.
timelines. Like one of them's in the basement, the other one, and they've never met this whole time.
Right,
Like they look exactly
right.
the same. That would have been great. But I'm not the one in charge of writing these shows.
But I mean, ultimately, so dang. Wait. Did Tara Strong finish playing Miss Minutes? Because she has issues, right? Out in.
I didn't know she was having issues outside, like in real life.
Oh, you don't know? Hold on, I
Oh
gotta tell you
no.
this. Yeah, Tara Strong is a. Let me see. Let
Uh
me see
oh.
what it is. She's a weirdo.
Uh oh.
Um,
She's not
is it?
shooing goop, is she?
No. It's what is it? It's she. What did she do? Ah, crap, I'm trying to find out. Um, because she got fired. She got fired from a show after posting about Israel and Hamas. And I think she did one other thing. She's kind of controversial right now. She's kind of like no one wants to touch her. And I think maybe she had already finished filming for this. I agree with you, John. He was cool. Yeah, so yeah, Tara Strong is she's not a great person at the moment. What did you think about Brad Wolf? I'm not gonna lie, I think that he was fun.
Wait,
And
Brad Wolf?
yeah,
Sorry, who's Brad Wolf?
Brad Wolf was he was, I think it was X5.
Right, right. Sorry, I just remembered his name. Uh, doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's what she did. That's what she said. Yes, that's what she said. So I was very surprised to see that she was actually on, like, really, but she wasn't. I think also they couldn't really promote the show, right? Because that was around the writer strike. So yeah, she couldn't be out there anyway. So they were lucky on that. They were very lucky on that. Um, I like Brad Wolf. He was a stupid character, useless character, but I thought
Yeah,
it was it was a cool distraction from a lot of the bullshit that was going on. Um,
yeah, yeah,
so I was okay with him, and I feel like that was also a storyline that I thought was could be a thing, right? Um, would be XTV. This is I feel like the show was a different direction before a lot of things happened.
it's
XTV,
possible. It's very
like
possible.
XTVA
Like,
members ditching the TVA to go to the timeline to see what their lives
right,
would be like.
right.
Brad Wolf was a very good example of that. I thought that was a great direction, the first couple episodes. And then again, I think the show went where it went. How, I don't know. I'm not sure. But I would have enjoyed watching a season of that, like Loki and Morbius trying to track down ex TVA members or some. That
Yeah,
would be a nice little side quest. So that's why I enjoyed the Brad Wolf character until they kind of got like, I think they kind of got stuck with him or stuck in the mud with him, and I was like, let's
yeah,
just make him a henchman. So he went from
yeah.
being a henchman to being an interesting character, and then right back to being a henchman
That's the
again.
henchman. Yep. Yep.
And I thought, I was like, okay, that's cool. Um, let me see who else. I think that's it. I
That's basically
actually,
it.
yeah, that's basically all the characters. Yeah, that's actually all the characters. There's not a lot of there. Again, I think I would have enjoyed this show as a buddy. Season one was setting up like a
Yeah.
buddy comedy type
Buddy
thing. I
cop.
think
Yeah,
it
yeah.
should have went. It should have kept going that way. Ultimately, I still enjoyed it though.
Yeah, like I said, it was okay. Like I wasn't.
That's kind of that was kind of evil though. But um,
Like I said,
I f-
it was just fun, and like again, based on what they were dealing with in real life, I can be like, you guys pulled out a great
yeah, they
ending out
handled
of
it.
all
Yeah,
of
they
this.
handled it. Right,
Like
right.
I have issues with things you did in the middle, but your ending was solid. You stuck that landing. I'll give you that. Like absolutely.
So then I'm gonna ask you, what did you think about Variant Loki's ending? Like
Which
him
variant?
being the our variant. Well,
Oh,
s-
right. Sorry,
yeah,
the main character.
main. Yeah,
I thought.
the reason I called
Okay.
him Variant Loki was because you made the distinction
Yeah,
at that
yeah,
point.
yeah,
So
yeah,
now
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
have
yeah,
to remember
yeah.
that.
Loki too.
Right.
Yeah. I thought it was a pretty solid ending for him. It's unfortunate, in my opinion, that like a variant Loki is one that gets all this responsibility and not the real Loki. But I'm
Hmm.
also just kind of like, well, one way or the other, he had a good end. The character had two good endings. Like that's a
Right.
lot more than everyone in the MCU. I think turning him into basic. Okay, so like they've already talked about time and infinity. Sorry, in Endgame, they did a
Right.
whole thing about like branching dimensions and all that in
Hmm.
Endgame and whatever. And then like having Loki sort of be, I don't want to say God of Time, like because he's not the God of Time, but
Having
he
a
is a
Loki.
yeah, having a Loki in charge of time is also a bit interesting. Like Loki's power is all the whole green thing, and the time
Hmm.
stone's
It's
green or
green. Right.
whatever,
Right.
and
Right.
so it's a little interesting thing, and it makes me wonder if there's ever going to be a situation where like all these characters that they've introduced that have gotten their power from time stone have to go back into becoming sort of like the time zone across the
Mm.
infinity of all the MCU. Like Scarlet Witch chills pops back up and she turns into that time that Infinity Stone, and what's her name, Captain Marvel turns into hers or whatever, and like that would be sort of interesting, like a
Right.
good ending for all of them. Like okay, so like you got your power from this thing, and this thing doesn't
Hmm.
exist anymore, but it needs to exist across infinity. So you
Infinity.
have to
Right.
go,
You have to
you have to
power it.
go be that thing. I think that's an interesting concept. I'm not sure if that's what they were aiming for, but
It
it's
probably
hard
they
to kind of
probably
like
you know what's funny is they probably
because it it,
stumbled
it,
on it.
it, ma- it makes it so like it turns all the time stones or all the power stones or reality
Hmm.
stones or whatever into quote unquote living beings. Like
Right.
they're all connected
Right.
to
They're all connected
one
to
living being,
something.
and I
Right.
I like that idea, because that's how it was in the comic, right?
Hmm.
That's what they turned it to in the comic anyway, and I don't think that's a bad idea. So yeah,
I honestly feel like they stumbled on it. Like it's something
yeah,
I mean, reading and everything, and they're like, you know what, why not? But I also think it's only something. I feel it's only something they're gonna do with Loki. All these other characters are just gonna phase out, right? That's how I see
yeah.
it. Captain Marvel's gonna phase out.
I've still got to see Captain
I
Marvel. I've
can't
still
wait
got
till
to
you
see
see
it.
the Marvels.
I, th- I think I think I
I think it's
think
something you're
I,
going to enjoy,
I, I've
fairly
I've
enjoy.
I've put it off because like my wife wants to see it, but like I don't want to keep waiting because like I have all these like tabs open of articles talking about Captain Marvel. So I'm like, after I see
Close
the
the
movie,
tabs.
after I see the movie, I'll come look at I'll come read these articles and what they have to say and blah blah blah. But like I can't keep them. I can only keep them open so long because I'm
Close the tabs, bro.
like
Don't you
like
have a history and reload tabs?
a part of me is like, when you get out of the gym tomorrow, just come back home,
Oh, okay. My
shower,
bad,
and then go to
Kyle.
the movies.
I should have thrown this in the main chat. Next, if you see the Marvels, let me know. I think I want to do like a big cast for that. So let me know if you see the Marvels. And Drunk said Marvels surprised him. He liked it. Drunk usually doesn't like a lot of things. So if he liked the Marvels, I think you should see it.
Yeah, I mean, I plan on seeing it. Like, I don't let like people's opinions on these
Hmm.
movies or like the general sentiment affect whether or not I'm interested. And
Right.
what
I'm
I've
gonna
also
see it
found is like
regardless, bro. Like,
what I'm finding also is like general sentiment is sort of like bullshit.
no, for me,
Yeah.
especially for
So
this
like,
movie,
cause
I feel
like,
like
cause
general
like
sentiment is bullshit on this movie. But
everyone's like, oh, Quantumania is trash, and I'm like, I saw it, I
it was alright.
enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I
it was
enjoyed it.
alright.
I didn't
It
feel like
wasn't
I
the worst
wasted
thing
my
I've ever seen. Right, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. I
I can't.
saw
I
I
can't watch
saw
the
Thor
first two
4.
Iron Man movies again. I cannot watch the first. They look like
Oh no,
trash
no,
to
the
me.
second Iron Man movie is garbage.
Like
It
like
was
like
garbage when it came out, and it's still garbage today.
people like to pretend the new movies are like worse or some nonsense. I'm like,
Bro,
bro, go watch some of those movies again. They're
that,
not great.
thank you. Because
Like,
I think people have forgot. Like, I think Infinity War and Endgame are to blame a little bit, right? Because that was peak, right? It's like that's the peakest thing ever.
Winter Soldier peak.
Okay, yes, but when I say Infinity War and Endgame, I mean like in terms of comic booky, right? Winter Soldier,
Yeah,
people want to
yeah,
pretend like it's not a. There's a talking computer in Winter Soldier, bro. It's a fucking comic book movie. You say, but for all intents and purposes, like let's just pretend. Let me give them their
yeah,
movie, right?
yeah.
So Infinity War and Endgame are peak. People think that that's what everything should be. Do you
Well, I
know
think I think
if
I think I
a
think
friend of mine and I sat down and went from phase one up to today? Do you know how many mid Marvel movies were in between?
so many of them. So the second Avengers movie was so mid.
But for some reason, we've forgotten about that because
Well,
it fell into the abyss of Infinity War and Endgame. All of that
the
it
the
was
it,
it was the
it was the whole
culmination
like,
of all
oh,
of that.
they're building a story. I'm gonna go watch it and get the little snippet of the story that they're building. And now they're doing it's the same thing's happening now. They're building a story, but now
Ray, this is
everyone's
for
just
you.
like, how many good Iron Man comic runs are there? I couldn't tell you, to be honest. Like, Iron Man is not a character that I like at all. Like, I cannot stand the character. So like, I'm the
So
worst
you're
person to
probably the
ask.
worst. That's why I
Like,
gave you that one.
I I start reading an Iron Man comic, and I get to where I'm saying like, I can't keep going. I can't keep going with this. I can't stand this character. The only Iron Man I could stand was like the Iron Man in
Was it when he died?
Ultimates, the Tony
Oh,
Stark in Ultimates, because
oh,
like that
the
was,
one that helped Miles. Is that the
talking
Ultimate
about,
Universe?
yeah, the Ultimates
Yeah, yeah,
universe. Like
yeah.
in I like that Tony Stark in Ultimates, not so much in Ultimates 2, but in Ultimates, I really,
Okay,
really liked
okay.
the character. Like, they had him down as a playboy and blah, blah. And, like, I can definitely see, like, Robert Downey Jr.'s, where Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark gets it from. But,
Right.
like, as a comic book character, he's never really
Yeah, Iron Man has
resonated
never
with me
been.
in
Yeah.
any way. Like,
You
it's
know,
like,
it's
oh my
funny.
God, get out of here. If I
That's
want a
me with
smart
Batman,
character,
though.
Reed Richards exists.
Jesus Christ, that's me with Batman, bro. I can't like.
I,
I can't
I'm the
stand
same with
Batman,
Batman.
and I can't stand Batman fans, and I think Batman fans make me hate Batman even more.
Yo,
But let's not. That's a different
Batman,
universe.
Wolverine, and Boba Fett. Those three characters, all through the 90s, their fans were just absolutely
The worst.
insufferable.
The
Absolutely
worst.
insufferable. I'm like, bro, your character is one dimensional. He has infinite prep time. He always beats everyone. It's boring as hell.
Wolverine can't die. It's like it gets
Like,
annoying, bro.
oh my god.
Boba Fett somehow became the
It's
ultimate bounty hunter. I don't. What makes him popular? The armor?
he's a badass.
But yeah. So like, if back to this, right? If we go from phase one to and like actually pull out all these movies, if we ever did a ranking show, right, a tier list show
Yeah.
for Marvel, right, from phase one to here. I promise you, you would be able to see for yourself how many m- Captain America one,
The
Thor
first two
two,
Ant-Man movies. Oh my
Thor,
god.
Thor two, Thor one, maybe.
Thor
Like,
1, see, I like Thor 1 for their attention to detail, but it's real mid.
it's
Like,
mid, and
yeah,
people forget Chris Hemsworth in that time period was horrible as an actor because he didn't know what his footing was. He couldn't be a serious actor in that movie with Anthony fucking Hopkins, Tom Hiddleston, like growing Tom Hiddleston, his mom, shit, Jane,
yeah,
because she had just come out of the fucking Star Wars universe. She was good. Like, you put that man in that movie with all of the fucking actors, and you expected him to. He was so bad. He was
yeah.
so bad and forgettable. So like. then again, all of those movies culminate into the first Avengers, right? For some reason, Josh Whedon made it work, and so we
Yeah,
forgot that all those movies were mid leading up to that movie, right? Then all of the mid movies that happened in between Avengers 1 and Avengers 2. Avengers
yeah,
2 happens to be mid because they asked him to do too much, or he doubled down on what was good. This is what to me hurts Marvel, right? The director takes what was good, makes it bigger and fucks it up, right? That's what they do.
yeah.
It's a given. You get the first movie right, they give you the second one, and then you just, oh, this is what I did here. Let's make this bigger, and then it just collapses. Avengers
I
2
mean,
mid.
it's that whole like, oh, I made a great movie and now I'm huffing my own farts.
Right.
But
And then
like,
you
but
you take that, right? I'm trying to you take that into Avengers 2.5 because I don't give a shit what you call Civil War is
Civil
Avengers
War is Avengers
2.5.
2.5.
Right. Avengers 2.5 happens to stick the landing and
Yeah, it's a better
rescues,
movie than the first two Avengers movies.
right, rescues Marvel from the mid that was all of the movies in between that, right? And then introduces Spider-Man and T'Challa, and then everyone is like, Marvel's peak. Do you understand how the hell Marvel went through before they got to Infinity War? I think people forget. And then also in that space, DC was giving you garbage after garbage after garbage that it made Marvel just look Teflon.
Good. Yeah.
And then
Well, and
now you're
to be
paying more
to
attention
be
to it.
to
Go ahead.
be to be fair, to Marvel and Disney, like comic book movies as a whole, like that's why whenever we rate movies, I do that whole like as a comic book movie and then as a movie as well.
Right,
You know,
right.
like comic book movies had been trash for so long.
Hmm.
You know, like when we finally got something that wasn't trash, it was just mid. It's the best thing
Yeah.
ever.
And now we're paying more. And I think people are paying more attention to these comic book movies and want them
Yeah.
to be movies. No, no,
So I mean,
no.
I understand that sentiment. I understand that
I get
sentiment.
it,
But
but
I
they're
think
still comic book
what they
movies.
need what they need to do is sit down for a second and be like, all right, this isn't any different from what it was when we first started. We were very hyped, and like yes, like we've hit some high points on here, but like we can't we can't expect every movie to be like peak compared to
Hmm.
the movies before it. We
Hmm.
can't expect that. That's just not gonna happen. Like it doesn't even happen in comic books.
No, it
Like
doesn't. Because man, New 52, my goodness.
I tried so hard to like New 52. It was one of those things where it was like they're doing this.
New 52 hurt my
I've
heart.
accepted that they're doing it. I'm going to try to stick with it to see what they can pull off, and they couldn't pull it off.
No.
It was a waste of time.
New 52 was so bad that I thought that I when Rebirth happened, I bought every run of Rebirth, every character of Rebirth just because. Like just because I'm like they said and Rebirth was good in the beginning, and then they just, like everything else, became Batman when they started to do Dark Knight's Metal, and I'm like, why? And it just look, I'm a DC fan, and
Are we still talking about Loki?
okay, let's finish the show. Thanks for bringing it down. So ultimately, I think people need to be a little more forgiving when it comes to Marvel characters, right? Or
Yeah,
Marvel
yeah,
properties,
absolutely.
but they won't because they. I think post
I
Endgame.
think we're in that point of influx between people who are always like woke this and woke that, and then also like realizing that things are mid or whatever. So like there's an intersection going on there that's kind of a bit depressing to
Hmm.
see. Like to
Hmm.
see guys who are like, oh, you know, all this woke like guys who you think should be better than that. Like, oh, all this woke crap is what's killing. I'm like, nah, mate. Like all the movies before this were also just kind of like this. It's not because they're being woke.
Exactly.
Like the people who are mad, the people who are legit mad about the woke stuff. Like I'll say this: you lie down with dogs, you come up with fleas. That's all I
Mm,
can say.
mm,
You know.
simple. But so I was gonna ask, like, if we were gonna do, like, yeah, let's finish Loki.
Yeah.
Where I think two questions are important for this one. Where does this rank? Do I say Loki season 2 or just Loki period? Where does No, Loki season 2. If you were going to do your ranking of Marvel TV shows, where would Loki season 2 sit?
I think Loki season two has the best ending to any Marvel TV show.
Listen.
I think it has the
Listen.
best ending to any Marvel TV show, but I don't think it's the best. I think season one's a stronger show than season two
Okay.
as a whole. But
Hmm.
the ending for Loki season two, peak, absolute peak.
All right. And you know it's funny that you say that because every time Roy and I do a Marvel show or just a show, a Disney Plus show, we get to the point where because we would review it weekly, right? We get to the point where like I think by episode 3, 4, we're like, damn, how are they going to land the show every single time? And if we were doing Loki weekly, honestly, we would get to this point right here where we're saying this is the best ending. Andor I think is the only Disney Plus show that had good beginning, pretty okay middle, and good ending, right?
Loves that. I've never seen it because like Star Wars is not my thing.
It's not your thing.
People keep telling me, "Oh, just watch it. It's a good show." And
But
so
did
maybe
you
I will
see Rogue
someday, but
One?
not. Nope.
If you didn't see Rogue One, then I honestly would tell you just don't waste your time.
Don't. I've seen. When it comes to
Ep-
Star Wars, I've seen
Episode 8.
the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, and the first two of the sequel trilogy.
Okay,
I've
don't do
seen
it to
the
yourself.
I've seen the Gennady Tartovsky Clone Wars, and
Hmm.
that's it really.
Yeah, it's
Star
cool.
Wars is
Yeah,
just not
if
my
you
jam.
haven't seen Rogue One, then I think you should just there's no need. Anyways, but like every Marvel show has the pretty, like even if you to me my favorite Marvel show was Miss Marvel, right? It's still Miss Marvel. Um
I'm inclined
so
to agree.
pretty good beginning, terrible middle, terrible with clandestine, right? But it puts the character in such a great position that when you go see the Marvels, it makes it just it like it's a thing that helps the character almost like with not Multiverse of Madness, WandaVision, right? Pretty decent all the way almost all the way through, but all Marvel shows have that muddly middle.
I think Wonder Vision is a solid show, absolutely great show. Like I
Right.
think whatever issues people have with Wonder Vision have to do
With all
with
the
the
guessing
end,
game, all the guesswork.
with
Oh yeah, that end. Oh my
and the
god.
ending. But like in the grand scheme of things, it's like, well, yes, she went off to become a villain, so the ending is perfectly
No,
fine.
the only reason I hate the end, and I don't hate the ending of the show itself. I just hate one line that was uttered at the end, right, where Monica, who a character that I like, said, "You don't know what she gave up." I wanted to reach through the screen, and I'm gonna stop right there. I wanted to reach through the screen and shake her, like, what she gave up. You know what? That's that is my biggest issue with that show. That show would be an A+ for me if that line if somehow you can go in the past
If they
and remove
edited
that
that
line.
line out,
Listen,
yeah.
peak show. But yeah, Loki. I'm inclined to agree with you. Loki season 2 sits somewhere in between. Um, um, I mean, for me, it's Ms. Marvel. Then I would give it to WandaVision, Loki season 1. Uh, then I think that's the one, right? Should it be Hawkeye or should it be Loki season 2?
I like Hawkeye a bit more than
Right.
Loki season one, but which is surprising for me because like Hawkeye is a character I don't care about.
Oh wait, did I say
You
Hawkeye?
know?
Not necessarily not Hawkeye. Cap 4, Black in America.
Oh, I thought that was real mid. Like I liked what they were trying to do.
the
I
ending of
appreciate
the
it.
show annoyed
Like,
me a little
but
bit.
like I thought it was sort of mediocre as a show. You know, like I
But
think
yeah, Hawkeye,
the problem a lot of these shows have is
they could be
the
three
same
hour, they could be two and
the
a half
same
hour
problem
movies.
Netflix show. Yeah, they could just make a made for Disney Plus
Right.
movie, and then if you decide like, oh, there's something that needs expanding on or whatever, add like make like shorts or something.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
But I think
make like
because they
shorts
want
or
to give
something.
them they can't justify giving them movie budgets as made for Disney Plus.
It doesn't have to be a movie budget. Just use the same budget you got for that show for made for Disney Plus Now
Right.
we have the whole like genre of movies called made for TV movies, right?
Right.
Just do it
And
that
that
way
work.
for
Right.
Disney Plus.
Netflix makes made for TV movies, or like,
Yeah,
and some of them are
99% of what they make is made for
made
TV
for TV.
movies.
Right. And
Yeah,
so like, but ultimately Loki season 2, a lot of that middle stuff, because you could have
they
done
they,
away
they
with.
could have they could have cut a lot of stuff and compressed a
Yeah.
lot of stuff.
I didn't
Absolutely.
I
And I
didn't
think I
I
think
didn't
I
I
think the
wasn't a
show would
fan of
be
the Miss Minutes thing.
no, no,
It was
not even a
cute,
little bit.
but it wasn't.
Not even a little bit. If the
You could
character didn't
you could kind of,
exist,
yeah. It- Like,
that
honestly, when the
that
season
that
started and
is
she wasn't
literally
there, it was fine.
the problem with Loki season two. It feels like if this character and this character and this character didn't exist, we'd be fine, you
Right.
know.
But that is
And
also a thing that makes me go ahead.
that tells me you have too many characters because you can't use all of them
Right.
in a way
But
that
that's
matters.
right. But that's also a thing that I have to sit down and think to myself, like, was this show supposed to be something else?
Yeah, that's gonna be it all the time for us.
Right.
You know,
And
like
that's the
yeah,
thing that makes me want to give it grace, because something huge happened in real life
yeah.
that affected the show.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
so
That is also something I normally do. Like whenever I consume content,
mhm,
like one of the things I do is I also look at the sort of the world or the externalities of how that content was created. So sometimes I can be like, yeah, like XYZ was great for what they had to deal with. And I enjoyed it for all these reasons or whatever. But like if I were to remove all those externalities from the equation, then it would be significantly worse. And a lot of
mhm.
people will judge things that way, but I tend to sort of take a holistic view on when I
Right.
judge content basically. You know.
So ultimately, I think it's something we liked and something we enjoyed, correct? Like, probably wouldn't revisit it anytime soon.
I would not watch the whole series, but I would watch like two episodes out of this, like maybe a year or two down the line. Oh yeah, what
Right.
episode was this happening? I want to go watch that episode again.
Right.
So like that they got me with that. Like there's so many other shows like I will never ever think about again. So
Right.
they've got that going for them.
So yeah, ultimately, um I liked it. I think again, for the character, I think it was a solid ending. It put the
Yeah,
character in a solid place. So I
I don't
think
want a
that,
season three.
yeah,
They
I,
need to
I
not make a season three ever.
they probably wouldn't call it Loki, right? It'd be a TVA show
I
at this
I
point, right? You don't want
I
to see
don't
the
want
TVA either.
I don't want to see any of that again. Like
Okay.
I want that story to be done, put in a bubble
See,
on the shelf.
fingers crossed, because now
Maybe a
that you've put that out
reference to
there,
it. Yeah,
now that you've
maybe
put
a
that out
reference to it, like in some movie or whatever,
there, right,
or one of them shows up as a cameo. That's like, oh, we know who he is, but the characters
right,
don't know who he is, and like I can live with that. But like the whole storyline of the TVA and that Loki variant, I don't want to see anymore. I'm done
yeah.
because
Especially
like
because you gave
if
most of
they
them a solid
do,
ending, right?
yeah, yeah, it's because if they go back to it, like it's one of those things where yeah, you can probably make it better, but you stand as equal a chance of making the story you've told worse retroactively.
Right, right,
So just
right.
don't touch it, just leave it alone.
All right then. So that is our Loki season 2 review. Thank you, Ray, for making the time.
No
It's a shame
worries.
Roy couldn't be here, but hopefully, when you see the Marvels, we can get like a lot more people to come on and we can do like a big thing, because I think I am interested in the Marvels review. I think this is the first time in my life that I'm excited to do a Marvel movie review, because I think the one that we've all done together was Shang-Chi, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's the only one we've
another
all
mid movie.
right, but enjoyable though. Mid,
It
but
was
enjoyable.
enjoyable. It was enjoyable.
Listen, and I think at some point, maybe beginning of next year. Wow, we should sit down and do a because if we did a tier Marvel movie list, we would piss people off, because a lot of those movies that people think are peak, to me, would be very C tier, D tier movies, and
I think
from phase
out of
one and phase two and phase three,
yeah,
like before we get to the end game and whatnot.
I'm just gonna come out and say it like I think out of all the Marvel movies, Captain America got the best.
He did. He
I
did.
think I
And I
think he
think
got
it
the
might
best.
it might
Like
get
like
ruined because we're gonna do a Captain America 4,
yeah.
right? But it's not gonna be Chris. So if we're saying Captain
Well, that
America, like there has to be like a quote around it, right?
asterisk.
Right?
Yeah,
Because
asterisk. But like
white
I
Captain
don't.
America, yes. Black Captain America is still to be
We
seen.
don't still yeah exactly to
TBD.
be determined. Like I think out of all of them, like the first one was an okay movie.
Very
First one was
okay.
an okay
Nothing
movie.
to write home
Second
about.
one, top notch,
Hmm.
top notch. Third one, okay.
Because that
Like
was an Avengers movie, so
yeah, it was basically an Avengers movie. But like compared to like Iron Man or who else had movies?
Thor.
Ant Man or Thor, and it's like, well, no, all
Honestly,
three of
if
his
it
movies
wasn't
are
a
better than all
Thor
three of their
4,
movies.
if it wasn't a Thor 4, I think Thor would be in the conversation with Captain America because Ragnarok did for Thor what nobody thought it was going to do for that character.
Yes, it was a reset for the character.
Right.
It was a
And they
reset
just
for the character,
again
and like
with the same thing that I have of Marvel directors, you get to Thor 4 and you just, oh, this is the thing. You double down on the thing and don't and just, oh, we're just gonna keep doing this thing. No, do other things, make it good. And then I think
I
the
think
God Butcher thing kind of pissed me off too, but
I think Thor 4 is nearly as good as Ragnarok. That is a hot and spicy take, and a lot of
oh
people will not
yeah,
agree with
we
that.
definitely
I
got to do a
think
tier list because
I think it's almost as good as Ragnarok,
nah,
and
I can't be the
I'm a
only one to
I'm
hear this. I
I'm
need
I'm a
everybody.
huge Thor stan, and like
Ah,
this
okay.
Thor, I think I need to sort of break this down. I'm a
Preface.
huge Thor stan, and those last two movies are nothing like the Thor that I like in the comics,
Interesting. I
right?
mean, they're
Nothing
not.
like that
They're
Thor.
not.
They're
Yeah.
not. But I still like him as a separate character. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not super into like, oh, it has to be exactly the same kind of
I
character,
don't
blah
think
blah
so.
blah blah.
Right.
You know, I
Get
like the version of Thor in the first two movies, and I also like the version of Thor in the last two movies. So
okay.
no, it's
Okay.
a different. They're two different ones. So,
Right.
but I
Guardians,
do think,
maybe.
yeah, yeah. I don't. People who
Because
love
Chris
that first
Pratt.
Guardians movie, people who love that first Guardians movie, I can't stand it. I don't think it's a bad movie. I just can't stand it. You know, and
I think it was just a surprise, and it caught people off
yeah,
guard, and it's like,
yeah.
oh wow, this is a thing. Like
No,
I think again, that's just what happened to Marvel. It's
we need
just a
to end
lot
this
of these
stream where we
things.
can keep
Right,
talking.
right, right, right. Anyway, so thank you for coming to our Loki season 2 show. I hope you enjoyed it. I can't wait till we all see the Marvels and probably do this again. So till then, we will catch you next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Peace.